Greetings to everyone out there in the No DQ galaxy. Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite for November 13th, 2019. I will also be giving my thoughts on the results from NXT, as I have been the past month and a half now. I've been watching both shows as much as possible, but mainly focusing on AEW Dynamite. But there were some interesting moments on NXT to discuss, so let's go ahead and get right down to the recap. We had a full gear video package, which I thought was very nicely done, basically showing the highlights from pretty much the entire card from start to finish. Meanwhile, over on NXT, there was a recap of the OC invading on last week's episode of NXT. Back on AEW, we had the intro and pyro. We had the announcers go over the matches for the evening. Over on NXT, we had Angel Garza versus Lio Rush kicking off the NXT program. Back over on AEW, we had a health update on Kenny Omega with clips shown from the match, and then there was footage shown from backstage where Kenny was talking to the doctor. The doctor told him to take the week off, and then Kenny asked the doctor how Jon Moxley was. The doctor responded by saying that Moxley was beat up. However, Moxley has been cleared. Omega left. He was very distraught, and I guess that this is the storyline that Kenny Omega just hasn't really been able to get it together since the launch of AEW and hasn't really reached that top spot. The fact that he had to take the week off while Jon Moxley was cleared. I actually really liked this. At first, I wasn't a fan of the idea of Jon Moxley being on television. I think he should have sold the beatdown and the brutality of the main event from Full Gear. However, I think this is a nice storyline here where Moxley gets cleared, but Omega doesn't, and now Moxley has to come out there and do his thing while Omega is sitting at home watching and wondering what's gone wrong and is he really losing it. I like it. I like the storyline. We had Moxley come out for his match against Michael Nakazawa. Quick squash match, although Nakazawa did take it seriously. He had his oil, which he usually uses for comedy purposes. He got rid of that, but wasn't enough. Moxley quickly beat him with the paradigm shift. Nico with a $2 super chat says, "Did you hear JR call Jack Hager swagger?" No, I must have missed it, but I've done it several times myself. For those of you guys that have been watching the videos, you know that I end up screwing up the name and calling him Jack Swagger or Jake Swagger. I just like saying Swagger rather than Hager. I don't know, or maybe I like saying Jack Hager. I'm not sure. I just get so confused about his name, that's all. So I don't blame JR. I really don't. I think it's an easy mistake to make. Anyways, after the match, we had Moxley cut a promo, and his first comment was, "So does that win count?" That one counts, right? He said that people can call him a lot of things, but one thing he is not is a liar, because he said exactly what was going to happen at the pay-per-view, and he delivered as advertised. He said that Kenny Omega will never be the same again. He said, however, he does respect Omega, but he doesn't think anybody else will step up to him. Nobody else has the balls to get in the ring with him. And he said that he will go through one person at a time until he is the final man left standing in AEW, and basically opened the invitation box to anybody that wants to fight him. And he said, if you do step up to the plate, kiss your family goodbye and have an ambulance on standby. And then he said that that nobody better be asking him for any apologies. And then he left through the crowd just like he entered through the crowd. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho Jet Black. He says, who's the bigger heel, Tommaso Ciampa or MJF? Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, Ciampa was a real bastard when he was at the peak of his heel run. MJF is just getting going. So it's really not a fair comparison. Let's look back on this question a year from now and see where MJF goes as a heel. But first night in, MJF looking great. However, Ciampa really had some great moments as a heel. So it's gonna be a tough act to follow as far as I'm concerned. We had the Dark Order versus Jurassic Express. Marco Stunt was wearing his own mask, and this was a pretty solid match here, and I think the real story was what happened post-match. So you had a valiant effort by the Jurassic, let me try that again, stuttering here, Jurassic Express, got it right that time. But in the end, it was the Dark Order that picked up the win with the fatality. Meanwhile, on NXT, we had the Cruiserweight match still going on, which looked really good from what I saw. Lots of kickouts, lots of big moves. Leo had to hit 2 frog splashes to retain the championship. However, there was a little bit of controversy because Garza had his foot on the rope and the referee didn't see it. So I guess that'll lead to a rematch at some point. Also, there was this storyline on NXT where somebody was attacking the babyface women for the War Games match. We had Rhea Ripley and Tegan Nox being laid out, and then later we saw Candice LeRae laid out in the back, and the big mystery was who was attacking these women. Back over on AEW, we had the post-match beatdown of the Jurassic Express. However, before things got completely out of control, an offer was made to Marco Stunt. You had the Dark Order state that Marco shows a lot of promise. However, he could become a winner if he joins the Dark Order. And then Marco acted like maybe he was going to reach for the mask, but then Jungle Boy took it away. And then you had the creepers that are out there with the Dark Order attack both guys. They started to put the creeper mask on Jungle Boy, and that's when my man, Luchasaurus, made his return, coming out there, beating up all the creepers. He wiped out 3 of them with a single kick, and then he chokeslammed the guys, just beat the crap out of everybody, did a standing moonsault to the bald guy, and the 3 members of Jurassic Express reunited with a big hug. Cool stuff. Very happy to see Luchasaurus back in action. I love that kick that knocked out all 3 guys. That was great. That was maybe the spot of the night. And I think I'm going to do that for every review now. I'm going to have the spot of the night and maybe the promo of the night, line of the night, and got to have the cringe moment of the night for the absolute worst moment of the evening. So you guys can throw out some ideas for me. Spot of the night, line of the night, and cringy moment of the night. We're going to do this on every review video now just to shake things up a little bit. But I nominate that kick to the 3 guys as the spot of the night. But there were a lot of good ones on this week's AEW, and we'll get to some of those here in a few minutes. And if you guys are watching this live, please share a link to this video on social media. And if you're watching this for the first time and you're enjoying the video, please subscribe, click on the notification bell to get updates, and make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors. It's been a crazy few days on the site, a lot going on. CM Punk, I did a video earlier regarding CM Punk, so check that out if you haven't already. I live stream 3 times a week, sometimes 4, and good times. Stephen Osborne with the $2 super chat says, plugging tomorrow's final What's NXT Live on NoDQ at 8:30 a.m. So if you guys want to check it out, What's NXT, 8:30 a.m. on the NoDQ YouTube channel. Next up, we had Shawn Spears and Peter Avalon and Darby Allin in a triple threat match. Peter Avalon started talking about Nashville musicians, and he was quickly interrupted by Darby Allin, who came out with his skateboard. Crowd was really into Darby Allin, and I definitely feel like this guy has some real momentum. Crowd seems to be loving the guy. I get the Jeff Hardy vibe with Darby Allin, like I've mentioned before. And Darby ended up pinning Avalon with the coffin drop, and Spears was taken out of the equation by Joey Janela, who ran down and beat the crap out of Spears. And after the match, Darby cut a quick promo saying that he accepts the challenge of Jon Moxley for next week's episode of AEW Dynamite. So next week, Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. Gonna be a crazy video next week. Gonna be a crazy match from those guys, I should say. Meanwhile, over on NXT, we had Finn Balor come out, and instead of doing the Finn Balor thing that he does, the pose, now he just does the Bullet Club pose now that he's a heel. He cut a promo. He wanted to know what has happened to the business he loves. He said that he was proud of NXT, but now it's a joke. He said since he left, a bunch of little boys moved in. He brought up how Johnny Gargano got injured, and then he was like, don't get me started on Matt Riddle. And that's when Riddle attacked Balor, and then Riddle started to cut a promo on Balor, and that's when the Undisputed Era came out. Michael Cole. Wow, did I just say Michael Cole? I meant Adam Cole. I'm going to give WWE ideas here. And I really hope it doesn't come down to Adam Cole being related to Michael Cole in a WWE storyline. I know people would hate that if it happened. But yeah, so Adam Cole cut a little promo and said that Matt Riddle is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that's when Tommaso Ciampa came out along with Keith Lee. And Cole wanted to know what they're doing. Did they see what happened on Raw with the Undisputed Era dominating? Keith Lee got on the mic and said he doesn't give a damn. He said to get their asses in the ring. And then Roderick Strong said that Adam Cole deserves a night off. He's the champ. He does all these great things. And if Keith Lee wants a fight, he has to go through Roderick Strong first. That led to Keith Lee versus Roderick Strong. And then back on the Dynamite program, we had Nyla Rose winning a squash match. I think her name was Dani Jordan. She picked up the win with the Beast Bomb. And then after that, we had Tony Schiavone interview Allie on the stage area. And she talked about how she's happy to be in Nashville and she wants to show the world what she can do. And that's when the lights went out and Awesome Kong, along with Brandy Rose, came out and assaulted Allie. They beat the crap out of her, and then they did the same thing they did at the buy-in for Full Gear. Brandy and Kong cut off a piece of Allie's hair and added it to their trophy of hair that they're using as souvenirs. Then we had Chris Jericho come out for a promo. As this was going on, we still had Roderick Strong versus Keith Lee, which was a very lengthy match, and I'll get to the fallout from that in just a few minutes here. Let's talk about the Jericho promo. So Jericho cut his promo. He said he's still Le Champion. He proved once again that he's the greatest of all time, and he still wants a thank you from the people. He wants to thank you from the people that mattered, however, not the jackasses from Nashville. He talked about Cody being nothing but entitled. He's a millennial, son of a bitch. The lights went out again, and I guess this is my time to nitpick and say that I think AEW's overdoing it with the lights going out for all these people coming out. Like, I feel like 3 or 4 different acts in the company have the lights going out, and it should really only be one. So, yeah, a little bit of nitpicking there, but that's that. It is just nitpicking. We had MJF come out to Cody's entrance, complete with all the pyro and whatnot, all the fireworks. The crowd chanted asshole at poor MJF. By the way, this video is not suitable for kids. Part of YouTube's new terms of service, you have to let YouTube know if the videos are targeted to kids or not, and I selected no. So I'm going to use profanity, and I better not get demonetized because I'm letting YouTube know that this is not a kid-friendly video. This is for adults. So, hey, that's what YouTube wants. Just letting YouTube know. I selected not kid-friendly, so please do not demonetize me. Enough of that little rant there. Yes, this is TV 14. We had MJF cut a promo saying that if he did not throw in the towel, Cody's career would have been over. He said that people have been cheering for the real villain all along, and that villain is Cody. Because Cody, and I quote, couldn't give less of a shit about any of you. MJF said that Cody only cares about himself. The real Cody is a liar, a user, and an abuser. MJF said that Cody only used him because he saw MJF as a puppet. And then he said, you know what's bullshit? Cody acting like he cared about MJF. MJF said he's better than Cody, and Cody knows it. Detective Mocha with a $2 super chat says, CM Punk, oh my God, ratings are back. Well, we'll see about that. Just real quick off topic here. The Backstage episode did 100,000 viewers, a whopping 100,000 viewers. That's about double what they did last week. We'll see next week. If the numbers go up significantly, then CM Punk, confirmed draw. There you go. Anyways, back to AEW. Jericho and MJF started arguing about the Inner Circle. MJF is like, do you want me to join the Inner Circle? And Jericho's like, well, do you want to join the Inner Circle? And they kept going back and forth with this. And then MJF called it the Inner Circle jerk, to which Jericho said that MJF wants to be like him. And then MJF suggested that maybe Chris Jericho had a little too much of the bubbly. To which Jericho said that maybe your parents got horny 20 years ago when they were watching Jericho beat up Juventud Guerrera, and then your little twerp ass popped up. Great line by Jericho. I thought this was really funny and a nice throwback to Juventud Guerrera, which is actually a reference to when The Rock mentioned Juventud Guerrera and Chris Jericho on that episode of Monday Night Raw, if any of you remember that. So I loved it. And then MJF was like, who the hell is Juventud? And then Jericho was like, Google it, baby. They started arguing again, and then they both asked, who's the biggest jackass? And then they both said together, Cody Rhodes. That's when Cody came out. Cody ran after MJF, attacked him, attacked Jericho, and was getting the upper hand on both guys. And that's when Wardlow made his official AEW debut. We've seen video packages for him over the past several months. He finally showed up, and it looks like we got 2 new members of the Inner Circle, MJF and Wardlow. So it looks like Chris Jericho's group is getting even bigger here. Wardlow proceeded to take Cody's tie, throw Cody over the top rope, and start choking him with the tie. So this was a great angle, great promo. Maybe the longest AEW Dynamite promo we've had to date. I mean, it went a good 10 minutes or so, and the Keith Lee Roderick Strong match was going on pretty much the entire time that this promo was taking place. But I love the promo, and as you guys know, I like the build-up. I like the character development and all that. I loved MJF getting to have that moment with Chris Jericho. And ultimately, I think it's more important for MJF's career to be able to do something like this than just do wrestling matches. So, thumbs up segment. I really liked it. The Game Is On 100 says, with a $2 super chat, says, nice bullshit line, Aaron, comparing to Cinemassacre. You know what's bullshit? Lots of stuff, including Monday Night Raw, but we'll move past that. Yes, it was a reference to the Angry Video Game Nerds side series that he does. So moving on here, we had the rest of Keith Lee versus Roderick Strong, and we had lots of chaos here. We had the Undisputed Era come out. They were trying to interfere. Then we had Matt Riddle make the save, and then Finn Balor attacked Matt Riddle, and that led to Keith Lee eventually winning with the Power Slam, and that's when we had the Undisputed Era post-match attack Keith Lee. Tommaso Ciampa ran down, and then he started to get overwhelmed, and that's when Dominic D made the save. He had a double choke slam, and the babyfaces ran off the Undisputed Era. We had Ciampa shake hands with Dominic, and then we had a stare down between Dominic and Keith Lee, but they decided to put their differences aside and shake hands for the greater good, which is War Games. By the way, I'm still not the biggest fan of doing 2 War Games matches. Just in general, I think it's a little bit overkill, but I'm sure both matches will be great. I just would have liked to have seen 1 War Games match, but they got to do the women's match to make history, and you got to have your yearly Undisputed Era versus the top babyfaces match. So it's all good. I'm sure both matches will be great. Next up, we had... Oh, by the way, we also have Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor set up for the War Games pay-per-view as well. So the card is pretty much finalized at this point. I think so. I'm trying to think. We got the 2 War Games matches. We got Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor. And I think there was another one, but it's slipping my mind right now. I think they're doing a triple threat maybe. They set up a triple threat at least. I'll get to that here in a few minutes. But let's go back to AEW. We had Hangman Adam Page versus Pac, and this one was a little strange to me. So the match was really good, of course, but first of all, Pac had no entrance, which is standard Raw television where guys don't get the entrances. He got the jobber entrance, but ended up winning the match. It was a really good match. I mean, back and forth stuff, lots of kickouts. Pac almost got DQ'd at one point, and the referee decided to use discretion and not disqualify Pac, who was just beating down Page, and Page was pretty much knocked out. Pac hit the Black Arrow, and then the Brutalizer. Referee called for the bell. Pac won, but he would not let go of the hold right away. 50-50 booking. And Harley even mentions here in the chat room, AEW doing 50-50 booking. So yeah, I really don't know why this needed to happen. I mean, the match was great, but why did we need to do a rematch and just have Pac get his win back? I don't know. Just gave me too much of a Monday Night Raw vibe, but it's all good. Super Namek says Pac has won 2 against 1 from Page. Well, there you go. But I don't even remember the first one. I just remember what they did at Full Gear, but whatever. Let's see, where are we at now? So we had Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Bronson Reed. Scott picked up the victory. Another solid match from what I could tell. And then after the match, Reed shook hands with Scott. So good sportsmanship. Oh, wow. Harsh comment here from Colin Andrew. By the way, congratulations, Colin, on the birth of your daughter. He says, AEW is a 50-50 snooze fest. Ouch. That might be the savage line of the night. See, I really enjoyed AEW this week, and I've been enjoying them every week. So, yeah, I think AEW's been a breath of fresh air overall. But, again, there's still stuff they can work on. And it's not perfect. It's definitely not a perfect show. So next up on AEW, we had this backstage brawl between the Young Bucks, fighting Santana and Ortiz. Let me see if I can remember their name now. Pride and Powerful, I think. PNP, something like that. I'm sure I'll remember it over time. Santana and Ortiz, I'll just call them that for now, unless I was correct with it. Apparently I was close. Proud and Powerful. There we go. So anyways, Santana got power slammed through a table. Nick Jackson got thrown through a door, and then it revealed that Orange Cassidy was just standing there randomly in the bathroom. Nice little cameo appearance here for Orange Cassidy. The door got shut, and then Matt Jackson hit a super kick. We went to a commercial break, and when we came back, we had them fighting into the arena, and the security tried to break them up. They got super kicked by the Young Bucks, and then Santana and Ortiz got the upper hand. They went after Nick's bad leg, which was hurt at the Full Gear pay-per-view, and then they got a can of spray paint, and they spray painted a circle on the table that was set up by the entrance ramp. And then Santana and Ortiz proceeded to slam Matt Jackson through the table, just like they did to Ricky Morton a few weeks ago on AEW. Private Party finally came out to make the save, and then it was announced that next week it will be Santana and Ortiz versus Private Party, along with Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. And I'm wondering if we'll see Kenny Omega make an appearance next week. He was, in fact, not on the show this week. So, moving on here back to NXT, we had Pete Dunne, who was set to go up against Killian Dane, but Damian Priest came out and attacked Pete Dunne, and then security tried to break them up. It was chaos. Damian Priest did a dive onto both Pete Dunne and Killian Dane, which leads me to believe they're going to do a three-way at the War Games pay-per-view. Back on Dynamite, we had the main event, SCU versus Chris Jericho and Sammy G, as JR is referring to him as now. I'm not sure what I think about the Sammy G name, just because it reminds me of Shorty G. He's Sammy G, so it kind of same vibe there with the name. But yeah, I guess it's maybe a little bit better than Sammy Guevara. I don't know. And am I the only one that thinks Sammy Guevara looks like, or reminds me of a Spanish version of Alex Wright? I don't know. Just get that vibe from him. Anyways, we had this match going on, and over on NXT, we had Mia Yim interviewed about her ladder match, and that's when Dakota Kai came in and said it was all good. You know, she had no hard feelings about losing her spot, and Mia Yim earned it fair and square. Regarding Sammy Guevara looking like Alex Wright a little bit, Galahad Gregory says you're not the only one, it's the jacket. Yeah, the jacket and, you know, his build and his hair and trying to, you know, be the cocky, sexy guy. Curtis Butler says it's a bit of a stretch, so what do I know? Anyways, back over on AEW, before the match, SCU cut a promo, and I really enjoy it. You know, they're totally doing the New Age Outlaws / Enzo and Big Cass style promo before the matches. Good stuff here from these guys, and getting the crowd to chant SCU and this is the worst town I've ever been to. All that good stuff. So we had the ladder match on NXT, the tag match for the titles over on AEW. Jake Hager was out there. It was stated during the tag match that if it went past TV time, the results would be available on YouTube. The rest of the match would be available on AEW's YouTube channel. I wonder if AEW is ever going to do that someday where they just end the show during a match and then you have to go on YouTube to watch the rest of it. So anyways, the ladder match was going on, and on AEW we had Jake Hager trying to interfere, and then Christopher Daniels went after Hager, but then got slammed into the barricade. Jericho tagged in, which was really interesting because we had about 2 minutes left, and Jericho's the legal man in there with Scorpio Sky. So I'm thinking to myself, wonder if Jericho's going to lose here. Jericho, I think, was like 7-0 going into this match. And sure enough, Scorpio Sky kicks out of the code breaker and then gets the victory over Chris Jericho via an inside cradle. So yeah, Chris Jericho is no longer undefeated in AEW. Jericho started throwing a WCW-style fit back from '97. He started hitting the ring post with the steel chair, and he flipped over a table. He started tearing apart the barricade area. Jericho just threw this big fit, and the show went off the air with a very upset Le Champion, Chris Jericho, who got beat by Scorpio Sky. Question is, will Scorpio Sky get a championship opportunity at the AEW World title now? And that, my friends, was this week's AEW Dynamite. Curtis Butler says tonight he was Le Champion, as in he's a chump. Nice one there, Curtis Butler. So I gotta say the line of the night had to be Chris Jericho mentioning MJF's parents getting horny while Jericho was fighting Juventud. That's got to be my favorite line of the night. And like I said, spot of the night, Luchasaurus nailing 3 guys with a single kick. That was great. And cringy moment of the night. What do you guys think was the cringe? There really wasn't anything on AEW that really bothered me where I'm like, this is terrible. Like I can't think of it. Maybe the Awesome Kong stuff. Like I'm not totally feeling the storyline with the hair, but I mean it's not really terrible. So I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and do the letter grade. Lewis says Cody's botched power slam. Okay, we'll go with that for the cringiest moment of the night. And Nico says Brandy Rose is just cringy. So there you go. I enjoyed the show. Really solid stuff. I liked Luchasaurus coming back, and I thought the main event was fun. I like Scorpio Sky picking up the win. Darby Allin building up some momentum. You know, they're building characters. There were more promos. I really liked it. I'm going to give it an A-, which is pretty much what I give it every week. Overall, very solid show. Not perfect, but pretty solid. And I feel like they, again, had some timing issues. Like, when Jericho was throwing the fit, they pretty much immediately went off the air. So I feel like maybe they still need to work on some timing things. But overall, really solid show. And Ken terminated by Google with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Ken. He says, shout out to Peyton or Shorty P, who is Colin Andrews' baby girl. I am happy for the Cleaver Man. Wrestling question coming up, Rift. Well, thank you for that, Ken. I do appreciate it. Supernamic2121 with an A+, Mr. Anderson with a B, Kev Dog with an A-, Sam says A- for both, CC Drink with a B, Harley with a B for AEW and a B+ for NXT, Gary with an A+, Supernamic2121 with an A+. Mr. Anderson says cringy moment was the lights going out both times. Again, it's maybe nitpicking, but yeah, I think they need to cut back on the thing with the lights going out for 3 or 4 different segments on the show. Stefan gives NXT an A-, and Jeremy Dorset also gives it an A-, and Kristen gives it an A, Mr. Anderson with a B. Now let's talk about the ladder match, which was quite physical. Mia Yim got busted open from a springboard dropkick courtesy of Let me get a sip here. From Io Shirai. Io hit the springboard drop kick, and the ladder went right into Mia's face. And you had the referee checking on her, and there was a towel put over Mia. And there was pretty much dead air here, where Io Shirai was stalling for time. She could have climbed up and won, but that wasn't the finish of the match. So she's basically standing there for a few minutes, and then finally Mia Yim gets back in the ring. The match continues, and that's when we had Dakota Kai come out. She helped Mia Yim, and then all of a sudden we had the moonsault from Io Shirai taking out both of them, and then we had Dakota get in the ring, go after Io, and it looked like Mia was perhaps going to win the match, and that's when Kaylee Ray, the NXT UK Women's Champion, came in and pushed Mia Yim off the ladder. Mia took this brutal bump through a ladder that was on the outside of the ring, and then Io Shirai was helped out by Kaylee Ray and got the briefcase, which means the heels get the advantage for the TakeOver War Games match. By the way, they're doing another ladder match next week with the men, same stipulation. The winner gets the advantage for his team. So we'll see what happens with that. My guess is that the heel is going to win again because, well, in War Games, it makes sense for the heels to have the advantage just from a psychological standpoint. And afterwards, we had Shayna Baszler come out to celebrate with her team, and it appears now that Kaylee Ray is going to be part of Team Baszler. But then all of a sudden, Bayley came out and attacked Shayna Baszler from behind and took off, and that's how NXT went off the air. So, solid shows as usual. Best I could tell from NXT at least. AEW was really solid. And another fun night of wrestling. So you guys should definitely check out both shows. Both shows provide some quality television. But if you're short on time, I would say definitely check out the Jericho MJF promo and check out the main event stuff. Ken terminated by Google with a $5 super chat. Ken says, and thank you for that, Ken, I do appreciate it. He says, do you find it sad that Jordan Miles was able to quit WWE while Hunico could not get out of his contract? I blame him, or I cannot blame him. Hunico is enhancement talent. Well, first of all, we don't know if Miles has been, or I shouldn't use his slave name, if ACH. We don't know if WWE is going to let him go. You know, he says he's quitting, but they might not let him out of his contract. I mean, same thing with CM Punk. CM Punk quit, but his contract did not expire, I think, like until the summer of 2014. I forgot when it was exactly. I think it was sometime in the summer. So yeah, CM Punk basically just had to sit out the rest of his contract, which I'm guessing is what Miles will have to do, unless WWE decides to let him go and just try to put this in the past and let him do what he wants to do. But yeah, it's a very bizarre situation, you know, him publicly quitting and using a bunch of profanity and calling out WWE, and could potentially open him up to a lawsuit if WWE says he's slandering the company. So, I mean, it could get ugly, but my feeling is WWE will just have him sit out his contract. They'll pay him his downside, and that'll be it, you know, and he will not be able to legally work for other companies, but at least he'll collect that paycheck. So, yeah, it's definitely an ugly situation for sure. But of course, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest on that. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be back Friday night after SmackDown for a live recap of that show. Make sure you guys check that out, and I will see you guys then. Have a great night, everyone.